In this video, we're going to talk about the next training cycle in our online training program, The Design, that starts on June 8th. If you're not familiar with The Design, we have 3 training paths that are all designed to make you better at competitive CrossFit. The first is strength, to obviously make you stronger at barbell and gymnastics stuff so that you can do all the skills in the sport. Then is engine, is to improve your ability at cyclical machines and just your overall ability to build a better engine and improve your energy systems. And then CrossFit, which is a well-rounded CrossFit program where the movements are all designed to improve you at qualifier style movements and all the skills that you see in the sport of CrossFit. Mike's gonna start us off with the strength path.
With the engine path.
I'm doing the engine path.
Mike's gonna start us off with the engine path.
All right, so kind of a continuation of what we've done the last 6 weeks. When I started this cycle 6 weeks ago, something that I learned from previous training cycles of watching people's engine development work was that we just needed more experience on all the machines, learning different time frames and time domains to game it better for the sport. I'm trying to train people in the engine path to get better on the machines for the sport and to help, I would say, secondary engine development, energy system development. So people ask, like, what energy systems are we training? And I'm like, yes, that's important, but what's more important is that when a 10-minute max cal row comes up, you know how to dial in for that. You know your pacing. You know exactly like what pace to hold for that through experience. So that theme is going to continue for the next 6 weeks. We've got 7 more tests coming up that are sprinkled throughout the engine path over the course of the next 6 weeks. I say tests, meaning like experience builders, right? So they're not always like max effort, pound yourself into the ground, like testing everything, like your will. It's more about continuing to learn different time frames, different time domains on the machine so you can walk away more experienced of an athlete on the machines. I would say Mondays and Wednesdays are going to continue to be more power-based, kind of mixed with maybe multiple machines. We're going to start adding some body weight elements into it this time, some double unders, some burpees, whereas it used to be primarily like just one machine on Monday, one machine on Wednesday. Sometimes you would see 2 on Wednesday. Now we're going to make it a little more CrossFit-y over the next 6 weeks. Tuesday is going to continue to be somewhat of like a lower intensity volume building day. We're going to use that as a day to continue to build volume in the runs, and then sometimes we'll add a row in as well just to kind of keep it lower impact. I like making Tuesday an easier day because Monday and Wednesdays are going to be pretty intense. So I want to have a day in there where it's a little bit lower key, lower heart rate, just less intensity overall. Friday is going to be an easier recovery-focused day because Wednesday being tough, and that's going to be either recovery-focused or volume building. So this cycle, we're ending with a 60-minute max cal test. Yeah, I know. Yeah, but
nervous?
if you've done all the sessions on the Friday leading up, you're going to actually feel really excited and fired up to do this, right? So building experience and going long in an engine-based or an endurance-based path, you have to endure, right? So we have to go long sometimes. We're going to continue moving that volume over the next 6 weeks and hit something around 90-minute range as well.
Nice.
Yeah, so it'll be fun. I'm excited for that. And then Saturday is going to be a little bit lower volume, but super high intense repeat efforts, and the machines will kind of vary week to week, just making sure that we're getting a good amount of consistent volume and experience on all the machines.
What's one of the tests that you put out that you're most excited at, and are you going to do it?
Yeah, I'm doing as many of them as I can. I'm actually going to try and do the 60-minute as well.
As many as he can.
I can only do none.
Look, like I was saying earlier, like I can't do all the engine tests and the CrossFit tests.
You can. We should purposefully overtrain you.
I'll do all the tests that you're doing.
Okay, fine. That's
fair.
Right.
I would say
I'm not going to do any.
The 90-minute test I'm most excited about. That one's pretty cool.
I think it's cool that you're talking about them being experience builders too, because I think we don't look at it that way with training a lot of times. Just like, I got to get this over with, or like, oh, I'm just going to grind really hard. But it is like scrimmaging our sport, right? We're learning new ways to be more efficient, and even with the cyclical stuff where we always think it's just about going hard, it's also about learning how to be more efficient on the machine. So
I think, you see tests come up all the time. You see different time domains on machines tested, and so many times, and I've got some experienced athletes, a 90-second row comes out and they're like, I don't know how to pace this, or I went out way too hard.
What should I try to hold?
And I'm like, man, you've done so much work on the machines that every session that I want to be done in the engine path, I want you to walk away feeling more experienced with knowing your gears and your pacing on that machine.
Yeah, one thing I actually have noticed too, just because I've been putting my training into our app, is that you could always look back. So I tell everyone that I've been coaching, I'm like, put all your stuff in there. If you end up showing up to a competition or you end up getting a workout in the open, you can always go back and reference your own training history to be able to use that experience in the future. So I think it's been super helpful versus, a little bit more of a difficult system we've had in the past to log results.
Yeah, so one of the retests, and not to get too long-winded on the engine path, you guys will dive into the strength and CrossFit here soon, but something that I did with one of the original tests from this 6-week cycle prior to this was I had them film it and upload it. And a lot of it was for me to kind of see, I want to watch people's transitions. It was a row assault bike test where they go back and forth on the machines, like a lot of transitions. I just want to see how quick people get in and out of the rower, kind of like a sport-based way for me to look at how they're handling machines and transitions. But also for them to go back and be able to, when we retest it, they can go watch their video and they can look at the comparison, which is so important in the sport of CrossFit. They can look at their transition times. They can figure out where they may have improved or where they did not improve.
Sweet.
Yep. Awesome.
Excited.
Strength path.
Yeah.
The exact opposite.
I know.
So we're going to continue on just real quick with the bench press and the shoulder press progressions because we have a 12-week
it's so fun right now. I'm loving it.
I feel like I'm crushing the bench press, but the shoulder press is way harder.
My bench is getting so much stronger.
I feel really
It's
fast.
so nice for me because I actually get
winning.
something successful in the week.
Although Dylan Pettit's beating you, isn't he?
One time.
God, he's so strong too.
Yeah.
So we'll see those remaining on Tuesdays and Fridays. We'll get to that in a second. So basically on Mondays, what you guys have been doing is some snatch technical work into some snatches, supersetted with some isometric work and some other kind of like post-activation potentiation work into some heavy back squats. We're going to keep that theme going, except now snatches are going to be more isolated where we're trying to build heavier and we're going to have a progressive look at those. By week 12, we'll max out on the snatch. So some different variations there. You'll see some different positional snatch work, but mostly we're going to get rid of the technique work and kind of build heavy from now on.
I have two things.
Yeah.
First of all, me and you have dumb brains that we need to reference our computers, and he's doing this by memory.
I have it by memory. I always film these and get done. I'm like, God, there was more things I wanted to say.
What's funny is I was thinking, man, you guys have all your notes, and I probably should have mine.
That you like the pressure. And
More
the second
so.
is post-activation potentiation. Some people might not know
Yeah,
what that is.
so what we've been doing is actually doing what you guys have seen for those that have done the workouts. We did a 5-second maximal isometric pull, rested 30 to 45 seconds into some heavier snatches, although we've only been around 75 to 80%. Another way that you could do that is actually going heavy first and then resting, going into some like dynamic or plyometric work afterwards, which we'll do both of those. It's a great way to be able to like actually ramp up your nervous system, and you're going to see this with some squatting work we're going to do. We're actually going to do some walkouts with squats, which is something I did a long time ago that actually was the one way I PR'd my back squat. And we'll play around with some different variations, but we also are going to get back to some traditional powerlifting where it's just deadlifts, just back squats. So it's not a lot of funky stuff. But for 6 weeks, we wanted to kind of play around with that because you guys came off of a 12-week heavy strength cycle.
Yeah, I like the funky stuff sometimes in cycles, and I think it's necessary, especially this time of the year, because it reduces. It helps people get over injuries and breakthrough plateaus that have just been doing the general strength training for so long and aren't getting anywhere.
Yeah,
so doing things like the PAP training and stuff will help you break through those things.
Yeah, just some of the like straight linear progression. Ironically, I feel like I have never until now done those traditional strength style programs with strict press and bench press.
Yeah.
And doing them now, I'm like, wow, this is a really good system for progression. But I've done so many of those with squatting or deadlifting or cleans that I almost feel like I need more variation in those to create like adaptations to get stronger.
Yeah, for sure. I would probably need some of that type of work with my snatch work.
Yeah.
I'm not doing the strength path, but I would definitely benefit from that because I've done so many linear snatch cycles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then on Tuesdays, we're going to be focusing again on the shoulder press. So basically you guys have done the first 6 weeks, or those that haven't got into it yet, you're going to have another 6-week progression, hatch style, it's modified, shoulder press, and then we're going to do a bunch of upper body gymnastics work. I think one of the things when we're looking at the strength path is how can we get you stronger, but also how can we transition this or transfer all of this strength over into the CrossFit path. Yeah. So one of the things that we see is like, I can't do chest to bar pull-ups, or I can't even do a strict pull-up. You've got to be able to master those skills first so that you can do 100 chest to bars in a throwdown workout.
Yeah, and be able to just have the structural strength required to adapt to that.
Yeah, and I think on that point, also stay healthy. Yeah. Like we have all kinds of shoulders, elbows, wrists, whatever. So doing the structural strength stuff is going to allow you to stay healthier long-term and train harder and do more volume. So
yeah, I actually see like a huge impact on my gymnastics endurance and CrossFit workouts when I do a lot of isometric work.
Yeah.
I agree.
Which it seems like counterintuitive because I'm not doing tons of volume, but like when my positions get stronger, I feel stronger doing like high rep gymnastics like toe to bar, chest to bar, things like that.
Yeah.
And I feel healthier.
Same.
On Wednesdays, it's basically going to kind of mirror those Mondays. So those that have been doing the program, you've seen Mondays have been snatch days, and then Wednesdays have been more clean-based days, and then we mix them all together on Saturdays. Wednesday, we've been doing a lot of technical clean work, some positional work for your front squat. We're gonna keep some of that, but now we're gonna go into some heavier, more progressive clean so that we're building up your squat clean, some power clean tech work, and then we're gonna be going into some heavy pulling. So more traditional powerlifting off the ground, but in different variations. So it's not only gonna be like clean grip deadlift, which I love because I think it transitions over into like the Olympic lifts a little bit better, but we'll do snatch grip work, we'll do some sumo work. We're gonna kind of change it up each week, so there'll be some progressive models there. What?
I'm laughing. I like clean grip deadlift too because it allows me to deadlift heavier than people that have a good deadlift. My grip is really
so
strong. So I'm like,
yeah, you and Travis, like I think Travis Mayer deadlifts the same with a mixed grip.
Noah's PR double overhand.
Yeah, I feel better now. You used to make me do that when you were training me, and it helps so much because my grip was so weak. So something to think about.
Yeah, it does make a big difference. I also think too, from a symmetry standpoint, we are on a bar all the time, pronated grip, doing bar muscle ups, chest to bars, toes to bars. So if you're constantly training mixed grip in one side, I feel like it does create some shoulder discrepancies. So clean grip deadlift could be like a movement change also, but maybe not always in Metcons. If you're, doing toes to bar and deadlifts, you might want to save your grip going mixed grip.
Yeah, and then both on Wednesdays or Mondays and Wednesdays, we're going to add in some glute-based work. I think Max kind of motivated me to do a little bit more of that, and I noticed that
just by the look of my glutes.
The look of I watched you do a hip thrust, and I'm like, dang, man.
Your ass is extremely motivating.
I noticed
we can stop this video now.
Some of the feedback when you were doing some of the banded hip thrusts or the single leg hip thrusts, like people couldn't do them, and I'm like, okay, that's an issue, right? Like we can't stabilize our pelvis, so we're going to be doing some pelvic stability, some core work, and then a bunch of glute work. I think added on will definitely help. Did you have something to say?
No, okay. No, I was just scratching my face.
I think it's helped my Olympic lifts right now because my body feels healthy doing more hip thrusts, and I was able to clean and jerk post Metcon without doing a clean and jerk in like 4 weeks, up to like 90%.
Yeah, it's also you're just bare strong.
But you still got to do it. So
that Glute Lab book talked a lot about structural stability of the knee and the hip joint from doing those, and I've actually felt that for myself as well. I think it was a really good addition. It's been fun, but I think also just from a training standpoint, we do so much volume on our feet that orientation of being laying on your back and working on creating hip extension force has been really good for people.
Yeah, I mean, you can load weights that your body's never supported before, like never. And any movement I can think of, maybe a yoke walk, I've never supported 700 pounds on my hips.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, to finish these last 2 days before this gets too long.
I like talking about strength.
You can just do it.
We're going to segue into the podcast now.
On Fridays, we'll continue with the bench press progressions, which I've absolutely loved. Like they were saying, I feel like so much stronger off of my chest now, which I got so weak. It's crazy, but now over the last 6 weeks, it's definitely helped. And then a lot of upper body gymnastics work, some strength-based stuff, and then some upper body pulling work too. So different variations, more kind of like true bodybuilding style. And then on Saturdays, we're going to mix the clean and the snatch. That will still be more technical based, but we will go heavy in a couple of weeks, and then we're going to do some strongman stuff as well. I think it's something that I get most people don't have the equipment, but it's something I want to have in there for those that do, and I'll try to give modifications for those that don't have yokes or maybe heavy farmer's handles or whatever.
Carry your
else.
spouse.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
And the strength path. All right, so that's all the strength path. Those are kind of linear progression style things because you know exactly what you're trying to get better. CrossFit is much more chaos driven. So are we back up and running, Chris?
Yes.
All right, so CrossFit Path, a little bit less structured than strength or engine because the goals of improving at CrossFit are really getting better at everything. So making sure that I created a little bit of a different theme than the last 6 weeks. We were coming out of quarantine after when we started that last 6 week block, and I thought a lot of people were just they had lost their competitive motivation, they had lost their focus, so we put a lot of focus on qualifier style workouts. I mean, we retested 16.3, 14.3, 16.1, 15.1, 15.1A, Murph, a bunch of named things that a lot of people that have been in CrossFit have done before to just feel that competitive pressure again. While that's good, really for most people now, the next competition is the Open, which is a far ways away.
Yep.
So I decided I wanted to switch gears a little bit and go into a much more training focused cycle. So basically pulled out all straight metcons, no for times, no AMRAPs, except for the throwdown. So we'll still have 1 day a week that we're focused on qualifier style workouts where we're trying to get better. And then the rest of the CrossFit style development is all going to be structured in intervals, EMOMs, broken workouts, short speed intervals, and basically building volume and speed of all the open style, qualifier style movements. Similarly for the strength, I'm going to leave the absolute strength development, like driving up your deadlift, driving up your back squat, driving up your snatch. If you need to do that, the strength path is going to take care of that. What we're going to do in the CrossFit path is we're going to focus on some of the movements. Like, for example, overhead squat is not typically a movement that people do a structured strength program around. So I'm going to create structure around the development of well-rounded strength in the overhead squat. So be able to go heavy, be able to do light weights really fast. Basically like similar to the last cycle where I did some of the snatch capacity intervals where we do like 16 reps at 50% of your 1 rep max, 4 reps at 80% of your 1 rep max, and then 2 reps at 88, which teach people how to barbell cycle, doing that same type of thing. So each day of the week has a structured focus of barbell cycling and a movement that we're gonna go after.
So something like different types of fatigue challenging the overhead squat, like grip or shoulder stability, or heavy breathing, whatever.
Or just doing heavy overhead squat into thrusters and doing structured work like that where people are pairing and developing those movements and doing it with the intention that they're trying to build strength endurance instead of absolute strength.
Fun.
What are you smirking about?
It sounds fun. One of the things I just wanted to quickly mention is that when I've gone through those kind of like broken cycles where there are a lot of intervals or like broken AMRAPs, whatever it may be, those are the times where I felt like I've built the biggest base of volume tolerance that then has allowed me to go back into, which everyone will when we get into the open cycle, which is basically the end of July, that it allowed me to be able to like really test myself when we got back to the AMRAPs and the for time pieces. So I think that people need to think of this as a way to like, let me build my volume tolerance as much as I can and learn how to have fast movement speed and good transitions and all the little things that make you better at the sport, so that when it's time to actually like test again, you're ready.
And we're gonna do some fun things. Like I wrote some intervals that are on short rest times where instead of having, if you're doing a qualifier style workout and it's 10 minutes long or 12 minutes long, you know you can't redline in that workout. You have to go out at some sort of a pace. Where I actually wrote and created coaches' notes to purposefully try to redline people. So I said, go out at a max effort pace, knowing that you're not going to be able to recover in 1 minute, and knowing that you're going to get some deterioration in output from set 1 to set 2 to set 3, to teach people how to deal with those types of red lines. I feel like the way that we had the last cycle constructed was much more competitive driven, and because then people are so focused on getting the best score possible, it kind of takes away some of that like a fiery, aggressive approach to workouts. So I basically thought it'd be nice to create some sort of varied structure where we could really play with that and some low pressure scenarios to train. Like we did a lot of tough training in the last 6-week cycle where there was almost a competitive style workout all 5 days of the training week, whereas now we're going to have some EMOM stuff where it's going to be 40 seconds of work and you can basically be working at whatever your threshold is. So if we're doing 40 seconds of burpees for 20 minutes, he might be holding 17 burpees per 40 seconds and I might be holding 12. So that way...
You want to say that again?
Yeah, I don't, but it's true. But that basically will allow people of different fitness levels to be able to prep for getting into a cycle in the future where we go back to competitive style workouts. So I think it's going to be fun. It's still going to be pressure. I mean, if you're going hard and doing CrossFit-y style stuff, it's always hard. But I think this just takes away, and I've been feeling it myself too. Like I've done every training session. I think I only took 2 full off days where I had to back away from the training in this entire 6-week block. And I know I was getting burnt out, not necessarily physically, but just emotionally and mentally of like, man, another workout. And I had a really bad day when we tested 15.1 and you see like all the scores from the open leaderboard and getting smashed by everybody on the leaderboard, then you're just dealing with the emotional humbling more than the physical. So I thought that this would be a nice 6-week change up to be able to practice qualifier stuff and throwdowns, and then let's train with the other 4 days of the week of training.
Yeah, ebbs and flows. I think you have to have periods of time where you kind of go in and out of that. I thought the last 6 weeks did a really good job of preparing us for a testing phase like we just kind of finished. Like, I don't remember the last time I was able to hit this many open workouts in this short amount of time when it wasn't the open and feel healthy and like good about it. So, but it's at the end of it now, I'm ready to kind of get back, I'm ready to get back and train and actually like improve the things that I saw that need work right now.
I just don't think we could do that for 6 months leading into the open. I think people would end up too burnt.
Those sessions you talked about where you basically have us go out hot to redline give me anxiety. Anytime I can't pick my pace, it stresses me out.
Coming from the guy in every 20-minute workout that's like, let's see who can win the first round.
No one ever bites.
Some structure to the week. So that's basically the overall big picture theme. Monday, overhead squat, and then our CrossFit style focus will be snatch speed cycling with pulling gymnastics. Tuesday will be overhead. So I'll basically tell people do the strict press from the strength path, but I'm going to leave it out of the CrossFit path and have shoulder to overhead. So push jerks and split jerks as the priority for CrossFit strength, and energy system stuff will be shoulder to overhead cycling, burpees, assault bike as the priority on Tuesdays. Wednesdays will be clean capacity work and front squat development for the CrossFit strength, and then a combination of bounding, core work, or hanging work, depending. So like these, in the CrossFit Path, it's not so structured every week, because if we do a ton of chest to bars and a ton of muscle ups, I might not do toes to bar on a Wednesday. So this is as close as I can get to kind of blocking themes off on what goes on each day. So there would be like toes to bar, some sort of hanging, planks, box jumps, cores, bounding on Wednesday. Friday will be back squat and deadlift, where I'm going to alternate heavy and cycling of each one of the movements. And then the energy system stuff will be running, which I put in. So we've actually had some people request some running in the CrossFit Path. We did a little bit with Murph Prep, but it was unstructured. So it'll be that paired with upper body gymnastics pressing. And then Saturday is going to be the throwdown. And then I will recommend for people to do skill work after throwdowns, or they can add one of the other training paths if it's a low volume throwdown.
Cool. I'm excited for the running. It's hard to write in for like CrossFit cycles sometimes because it's never been in the open, so I always struggle with like, why is this in here?
Yeah.
But I see it as a really good tool to like pre-fatigue people in a lot of training scenarios. It's really good for the respiratory system, and like I can get my breathing up in myself and people way higher, way faster running than I can doing like certain machines.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I use it for. So I created different speeds as pre-fatigue for gymnastics. So like one session is like do a 200-meter run at a 400-meter pace, which is a pretty fast run. I mean, that'd be like getting on an assault bike and ramping it up pretty quick, then get in and then do your handstand walk. So it's a great way to like, you know, blood flow, heart rate super high, and then you get in after a pretty fast amount of work and then have to get up on your hands and walk. So it's not like the running's the priority. It's more like we're gonna run and we're gonna get a little bit of exposure to running and then utilize that as prep for the other movements that are the priority in the CrossFit Path.
Are we going to see any battle ropes in the CrossFit Path?
Yeah.
Every day.
Yes.
So those are the paths that we have: engine, strength, CrossFit. But one of the things that we've had asked a lot is, if I want to combine paths, if I need to work on my strength and my skills in CrossFit, if I need to work on my engine and my strength, whatever it may be, how do we combine those things? So I think we've come up with a good plan.
Yeah, so I think we've created templates, and all of our templates were created from problems that we've addressed from feedback and from constant questions that we've got from people. So the first problem that we saw is that people are not able to cope with the demands of training. So the training program is written to ensure that the people at the top level can get a good training structure. So, you know, Noah follows the program, Travis follows some of the program, Dylan Pettit. Like there's a bunch of people that either do the whole program or components of the program that are pretty close to the best in the world at the sport, which are freak type humans. Now, other people, like myself included, I'm not, so I have to make adjustments to volume sometimes and deloading, or masters athletes that follow the program, and now people actually put masters on their name in the leaderboard so that they can start creating their own leaderboard. So I created a template that is a well-rounded program if you're trying to follow it with a little bit less volume. So to explain kind of how the template structure works, every Sunday I'm going to go through the training week and I'm going to make manipulations to my week to finalize it. You guys go through yours to finalize it. And then I'm going to take that template and build a video on Sunday that explains and put it in text. What do you pick from each training path, or what do you remove from each training path if you're just a little bit less volume tolerant? You get beat up easily, your joints are hurt, you're trying to do the workouts and you're just ending up more miserable than you are feeling like you're getting better. So that's really the first training template that I think addresses one of the major problems that we've seen.
Yeah, what are the other templates?
So the other problem I think that we've seen is people just need to get stronger.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
I think that's actually the biggest problem. We just kind of watched people over the last 6 weeks, especially. Some of the throwdowns have been a little bit heavier. Some of the workouts that you put in the CrossFit Path went pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Or even like with the barbell cycling, people are just getting chewed up by that, and then they want to do more engine work, which some of them may need. But I think that if you're looking at it kind of like a more holistic approach, what's holding you back in qualifiers in the open? For those that are weak, that can't do the final bar or the second to last bar, or can't do the heavy thrusters in the throwdown
or handle the chest to bar volume on the gymnastic side of it.
Right. Most likely you need to be doing more strength work first, and then we can all get into the CrossFit prep when we get closer to the open.
Yeah, so that's the second template, is following the strength path and then adding in CrossFit, essentially giving you a structure so that you're not doing a bunch of weighted pull-up progressions in the strength path and then trying to do 200 chest to bars in the CrossFit path, because then you're getting conflicting signaling and you're not going to actually make yourself better. And that's something that we've seen. There's a lot of people in the program. All we can really do is give them some education, but they're doing way too much trying to get stronger and their strength numbers aren't budging. So trying to figure out.
Say it one more time.
Doing way too much volume if you're trying to get stronger. So giving you a structure to be able to take the right amount of volume, the right amount of strength work that we think still allows you to get better at CrossFit, but maybe biases it a little bit more towards just being strong.
We're just trying to make take the decisions out for you, right? Like it's you get on the training program each day, and there's 3 options, and sometimes all right, I know I have a strength bias, but the CrossFit Metcon's there. I know I need to do it. I don't know how to basically tell myself it's okay to back off a little bit. We're doing that for you now each week.
Yes. And then the last one is people that need to build an engine, and I think the common thing that we've seen is people just doing everything. They're doing the whole CrossFit path, the whole engine path, the whole strength path, and they think that just if I'm tolerating more, I'm going to become more enduring. So there is some truth to that. I do think doing more volume is one of the prerequisites to making sure that you're more enduring, but we're going to try to create a better system for making sure that if you are doing more volume, for example, Mike's adding in burpees and double unders to some of the engine work, and then some of the tests from the CrossFit path might also have that in. So if you're trying to do more volume, there might be some days where we actually recommend you cutting out one of the other paths to make sure that there's not conflicting, or just like giving some education on what you would need to do to have a more engine biased approach to manipulating the paths.
Yeah. So I mean, that's 3 different options. Some of you might find that you're like, yes, that's the bucket I fall into for sure. Some of you may not fall into that bucket, but you can kind of use those 3 as guidance to kind of get an idea to kind of build your own path and make your own decisions better. And some of you are just going to want to continue to kind of do it as is, like as you have been, and it's working fine.
Yeah, so I don't think you need to follow those necessarily. Like, I mean, obviously the 3 easiest ways are pick one path and just train on that path and don't add anything. And then the templates would be a good way, because that basically gives you 3 other options that just basically combine them. And then there's just do it on your own. And I think that I would reserve if you're an advanced trainee that really understands your body and what you need to get better at. I wouldn't be doing that if you're a year or 2 into CrossFit. I would definitely recommend starting with structure, or doing a consult and actually getting an exact structure for what you need to work on.
Yeah, and I'd also think about, or just be honest with yourself about if you're getting better. Like if you're not, and if you feel beat up all the time, most likely you're probably doing too much. And you can reach out to us. Like, we're still obviously available. We'll answer those questions for you. So comment on the water cooler section, which is basically the section where we all can talk to each other, and we can give you answers and kind of give you guidance. But I think this is a much easier way so you know exactly, like Mike said, what to do each week.
Yeah, I think it honestly nails it. I mentioned it earlier, but I was doing both CrossFit and engine path religiously. That's 2 double sessions 5 days a week, and I thought I'd give that an honest shot for a while, and I felt like I was handling the volume okay, but you called me out and were like, no man, like I think your CrossFit's suffering a little bit. And I'm like, shit, he's right. The goal isn't for me to just do more training volume. The goal was me to get better at CrossFit sport and like the Metcons. So pulling back a little bit occasionally and just being honest with that was really important.
All right, so those are the new changes. I feel like the training paths all have some new things that are exciting and fun to get after. The 3 training templates. This cycle starts on June 6th, Monday.
June 8th.
June 8th.
That's okay.
Monday, June 8th. It's 2
Join
days
us on
after
the
the 6th. So join us, and that's really all I got to say.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I can't wait for this next cycle.
Get better at the sport of CrossFit alongside some of the best athletes in the world in our online training program, The Design. Head over to our website, trainingthinktank.com/DSGN to learn more.